wild move, came out of nowhere, seemingly something we did not have any idea was going to happen. Right up until today. I mean, we were there. I was there. I was sitting in the media room talking to Russell Wilson. I spoke to people after the Russell Wilson press conference. We walked out. We were all chatting. I talked to people within the organization after the Russell Wilson press conference. Nobody gave any indication. It was like this came out of absolutely nowhere. It was wild. Didn't see it coming. And got to say, I still don't know why it makes so much sense, but it kind of does. And here we are. I'll tell you this. I did get a phone call, or I made a couple of phone calls. Obviously, had to do my job, do a little reporting after the Pittsburgh Steelers did make the trade. For those of you who are unaware, who have been living under a rock for the last couple of hours, Kenny Pickett is on his way to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for pick 98 in the NFL draft. That is a third-round pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers give up Kenny Pickett and their fourth-round pick, pick 120. They also get 2 seventh-round picks in 2025. Those are null and void unless you end up with Brock Purdy, and this is the greatest trade the Pittsburgh Steelers may have ever made. He is the second earliest first-round pick the Pittsburgh Steelers have ever given up on, which is wild. And everybody's asking why. Obviously, there's all those reports Jerry Dulack's talking about last season and not wanting to be the reserve guy, and then Russell Wilson comes in and he's not handling it well, and then they get rid of him. Obviously, I made some phone calls. I talked to some people inside the building, outside the building, as many sources as I could possibly get my hands around. This is what I have been told, and it somewhat aligns with everything that everybody else has been saying as well. The Pittsburgh Steelers spoke with Kenny Pickett prior to signing Russell Wilson. That I knew for weeks now. The Steelers met with Kenny. Kenny was cool about it. He said, hey, look, I'm open to competition. Had an understanding that it would be a competition and that he would have the upper hand in that competition. I think something that a lot of us, right up until Russell Wilson signed and it became Russell Wilson, thought was going to be the case. If it was Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett would have the upper hand, and then Mason would have to beat him out. Instead, they go out and they sign Russell Wilson. Kenny is told later that Russell is the veteran. He will get the first team snaps during OTAs. Kenny wasn't pleased with that. Obviously, everybody's talking about how Kenny Pickett isn't going to beat out Russ. That's making headlines all over the place. He's seeing all that stuff. Turns out that Kenny Pickett is not a big fan of it. Decides, hey, I believe that I should be elsewhere. I think that that's the best place for me. He did not demand, said, I believe the best case scenario is for me to be traded. It was something along those lines. It was not a full-blown, get me out of here. This is not going to happen. I'm leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was more of a suggestion. He's gone. The Pittsburgh Steelers move on. Craziness. Absolute craziness.